In 1926, on the fertile lands of Cuba, Fidel Castro was born into an aristocratic family. He grew up in comfort and luxury provided by his parents, but he witnessed the poverty and injustice affecting the workers and peasants around him. As he grew older, Fidel enrolled at the University of Havana to study law, where he was introduced to the world of politics. His studies were not enough to satisfy his passion, so he took part in protests against government corruption and began planning for real change in Cuba. To him, Batista, the ruler of Cuba at the time, was nothing more than a tyrant selling the country to American interests. Fidel decided to stand against him, no matter the cost. In 1953, he planned his first attack with a small group of revolutionaries against a military barracks. The plan was ambitious, but the operation failed, and Castro was captured. During his trial, he delivered a speech that became legendary, declaring, "History will absolve me." He spent several years in prison and, upon his release, went into exile in Mexico. There, he met a man who would become his revolutionary companion, Che Guevara. Guevara, an Argentine doctor who believed in the revolution just as much as Fidel, joined him in the fight. Together, with a small group of fighters, they began planning the overthrow of the Cuban regime and launched a guerrilla war from the Sierra Maestra Mountains. Gradually, their movement grew in size and influence. On January 1, 1959, Fidel's dream became reality. His forces entered Havana and Batista fled. Cuba fell into the hands of the revolutionaries, and Fidel Castro became the leader of the country. His goal was not just to change the leader, but to completely transform the system. He introduced radical reforms, nationalized factories and land, and launched massive programs in education and healthcare. However, his socialist policies angered the United States, which imposed a severe economic embargo on Cuba. Despite the hardships, Castro refused to bow to pressure and allied himself with the Soviet Union. In 1962, the world came close to catastrophe when he allowed the Soviets to deploy nuclear missiles in Cuba. The Cuban Missile Crisis nearly triggered World War III, but it was resolved after intense negotiations between Washington and Moscow. Castro remained in power for decades, facing economic challenges and international isolation. For his supporters, he was a symbol of resistance against imperialism, while his critics saw him as a repressive dictator. In 2006, Fidel Castro handed over power to his brother Raúl. However, he remained an influential figure until his death on November 25, 2016. Fidel Castro's story is more than just that of a political leader. It is the story of a man who believed in his dream and stood against the world to achieve it. Finally, if you enjoyed the video, give us a like and check out one of the 2 videos shown on the screen.